Hello, fiscal conservatives of Hamilton County. I am here with Dr. Chuck Dietzen, the Republican candidate for the 5th District Congress. He is a pediatric rehabilitation specialist, an entrepreneur, a global humanitarian, and founder of Timmy Global Health. He's a speaker and a nationally acclaimed prize-winning author of the book Pint-Sized Profits. We're here to answer your questions. And Dr. Chuck, the first question we have is, do you favor term limits for members of Congress?
I certainly favor term limits for members of Congress.
If so, what period and why?
Well, I have actually signed the certificate, the pledge for the amendment to limit terms to 3 terms in the House of Representatives, 2 terms for Senate. I don't know that they would ever pass an amendment, but we definitely need to stop the career politicians because, frankly, they've become detached from who they supposedly represent.
Thank you. Our next question is, what is your position on legalizing or decriminalizing marijuana?
Well, I think it's an interesting fact that we have a federal law against it, yet we have many states who have their own laws in favor of it, which makes it a very difficult issue. Personally, I've seen plenty of addictions that have interfered with people's lives and their productivity. It's very concerning to me that we have seen just essentially a total release of any sort of limitations on that drug. Personally, I've been concerned about the number of opioid medications we have prescribed, and I am in favor of at least the use of synthetic cannabinoids, which we do use in cancer treatment, even at the Children's Hospital. The problem with marijuana in general is not knowing the potency of each of the types of marijuana and therefore the toxicity levels, and there is no doubt that you do have effects on the airway, how the lungs function, and it can lead to other diseases, not to mention the fact that I've seen, as I mentioned, some people become much less productive if it becomes a normal habit or an addiction.
Thank you. Good to have a doctor's observation on that. Our third question is, what proposals would you make in order to decrease the national debt?
Well, we've heard about the pennies plan. We've heard about the pennies plan. I think we need a nickel or dime plan at this point with the amount of debt that we have now saddled future generations with this latest coronavirus epidemic. We must get our freedom back by getting control of the spending. We have a horrible problem in Washington spending dollars. I read a fantastic editorial once by Charles Krauthammer, and I think he is very right. Politicians are not philanthropists. Politicians are trustees, and they are giving back our money, and they are also spending the blood of our young people. So it's very important that we get control of the spending. And as I said, I would be very much in favor of a approach where we do get demand that certain amounts of the money that are going into the federal government are not spent on projects. As I've often said to people, if I wanted to help someone and I gave $1 to a politician, I'd be surprised if 10 cents got to that individual.
And I know that with Timmy Global Health, you've made sure that all monies donated go directly to where they need to go. So I know you're fiscally responsible with that.
Yes. In fact, we've managed to keep the highest our overhead has ever been there is 15%.
15%?
Yes, while we were still able to provide quality health care in many underserved areas in the U.S. and abroad and keep the overhead down.
Great. Describe any overreaching policies of the federal government that you believe might be unconstitutional.
I believe there are several of them. The latest, of course, is you keep hearing about gun rights, this sort of thing. Ultimately, the federal government's primary role is defense. If you read the Constitution, what are the things that they are overseeing? We have the Bill of Rights. There are certain things that we as citizens are guaranteed. And I see where the government's starting to even try to chip away at that. I think the most important job and probably the single job that the federal government should be performing for this country. As you think of us as being 50 states or 50 small countries united together, they should be directing the defense of this country. And that, of course, includes immigration, order at the border, and no policies that would interfere with the economy.
Great. Thank you. Now, the fifth question is a little bit similar to what we already talked about on decreasing the national debt. Do you believe the government has a spending problem or a revenue problem? And we know you already said they have a spending problem, but what would you do to solve either of those problems?
Yes, what we must, again, is reel in the spending. And frankly, being a rehab doctor, I know that we have many people on disability that really chips away at Social Security disability, and we certainly can reel in spending there. We also need to improve healthcare and reduce the GDP expenditure on healthcare. That can be done, certainly without social.
Great. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the fiscal conservatives of Hamilton County?
No, I just say thank you for having this chat with me. Let me tell you my view, and just to tell you, I grew up in a very conservative family where my dad kept a yellow clipboard, and any amount of money I ever borrowed from him was always on that clipboard. I walked in the door, that's the first thing I saw, whether I owed him $3 or $20,000 when I was going to college. We had to pay for what we got. In other words, you don't buy what you can't.
Thank you, Dr. Chuck.
Thank you.